Over millions of years, mutation, natural selection, and other evolutionary forces have produced Staphylococcus aureus, a bacterial species that is well adapted to living harmlessly on skin and in nasal passages. Under certain conditions, Staphylococcus aureus is also well adapted to causing infections. Mutations continue to occur today in Staphylococcus aureus as they have for millions of years. Most mutations are lethal, that is, they interfere with the normal functioning of the organism and lead to its death. Many mutations are not lethal but provide no selective advantage to the organism in a normal environment. For example, one mutation in this population of Staphylococcus aureus produces proteins that increase the cell's resistance to a particular antibiotic. Another mutation in this population produces proteins that increase the cell's tolerance to cold temperatures. What do you think will happen when the selection pressure of a normal environment exerts its effects on this population of Staphylococcus aureus? We can consider a normal environment to be the skin of a person who is not taking antibiotics and who lives in an environment with a moderate temperature. In a normal environment, neither of these mutations provides the mutant organisms with a selective advantage over non-mutant organisms. In fact, these mutations may cause the mutants to be less well adapted to a normal environment than the non-mutants. After all, producing proteins that provide resistance to antibiotics or tolerance to cold temperatures requires metabolic energy. In the absence of antibiotics or cold temperatures, this drain of metabolic energy may cause the mutants to reproduce more slowly than the non-mutants or die out altogether. Now let's see what happens to our mixed population of non-mutant and mutant organisms if we add an antibiotic to the environment. By adding an antibiotic to the environment, we are exerting a selective pressure that favors those mutant organisms that already possess the gene, or sometimes genes, for resistance to that particular type of antibiotic. In other words, the antibiotic-resistant mutant organisms now have a selective advantage over the other organisms. The result is that all antibiotic-susceptible cells, including the non-mutants and the mutants that are tolerant to cold temperatures, will die, and the antibiotic-resistant mutants will survive. With the continued selective pressure of the antibiotic in the environment, only those mutant cells with the gene for antibiotic resistance will survive, reproduce, and proliferate. Because the gene for antibiotic resistance will be passed on from one generation to the next, all of the progeny will now be resistant to the antibiotic. This example demonstrates natural selection at work, the differential survival and reproduction of individuals depending on their sets of genes. Natural selection occurs not only in bacteria growing in hospitals, but in all living organisms, including humans.